The air was hot, thick and heavy. Inside the steel cage, Lyra sat on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest. She could hear alien voices outside, loud, excited, cruel. She didn't understand all the words, but the tone was clear. They were waiting for a show, and she was the main act. Lyra had been captured 3 days ago, taken from her ship during a surprise attack. Now she was on some unknown jungle planet, locked inside a cage like an animal. The sky above was green. The sun was red. Strange birds circled the treetops, making eerie sounds. And somewhere, deep in the jungle, something growled. Suddenly, the gate to the arena opened. The ground shook. Something large was coming. The crowd of aliens, tall, gray-skinned creatures with sharp teeth and glowing armor, roared with excitement. They moved to the edge of the arena, eyes wide, pointing toward the shadows beyond the trees. Out of the jungle, it came Dot. It was a beast. 10 feet tall, 4 legs, muscles like stone, and covered in thick black armor. Its eyes were glowing yellow. Its mouth was filled with fangs, and drool dripped from its jaw. Chains were wrapped around its neck, held by 2 alien soldiers who struggled to control it. Lyra's heart pounded. Her hands clenched the cage bars. The beast was real, and it was angry. One alien, wearing a red cloak and medals, stepped forward. He raised a hand and shouted in their language. The soldiers nodded and released the chains. The monster snarled and lowered its head. It looked at Lyra, just her. Then, with a sudden roar, it charged straight at the cage. The alien screamed in joy. Lyra didn't move. She couldn't. The ground trembled with each step of the beast. Dust flew into the air. Its eyes locked on. Hers, its mouth opened. Lyra closed her eyes. Then, nothing, Dot, no sound. No pain. She opened her eyes slowly. The beast stood right in front of the cage. Not moving, not attacking, just breathing, heavy and loud. Its nose was pressed to the bars. Its eyes had changed. No longer wild, but curious, Dot. It sniffed the air around her. That it did something no one expected, Dot had sat down. The crowd fell silent. This Commander in red shouted angrily. One of the guards pointed a stick and sent an electric shock through the beast's neck. It roared in pain, but didn't move toward them. Instead, it turned its massive body and lay down beside Lyra's cage, Dot, as if guarding her. Gasps echoed through the alien arena. Some shouted, others backed away. Lyra didn't move. Her breathing was shallow. Her mind raced, Dot, what just happened? She slowly reached through the cage bars. Her fingers trembled. She touched the side of the beast's neck. Warm, rough, alive, Dot. It didn't flinch, Dot. It leaned into her touch. A creature made for killing was now sitting like a loyal dog. The aliens didn't understand. They argued among themselves. Some wanted to attack it. Others warned to wait. The commander ordered more shocks, but the beast growled, loud and deep. A sound that made every alien freeze. It was not afraid of them. It was only still. Because of her, Lyra looked into the beast's eyes. Something was there. Intelligence, memory, recognition? She whispered. Why? Are you protecting me? Of course, it didn't answer. But it didn't need to. Somewhere deep inside, something had changed. The monster had made its choice, and it had chosen her. Asterisk. Lyra couldn't sleep that night. She sat in the corner of the cage, watching the beast. Through the bars, the jungle was quiet now. The aliens had gone. Only a few lights stayed on around the arena. Cameras floated silently in the air, still recording everything. The beast had not moved far. It lay just outside her cage, like a mountain, of muscle and armor, breathing slow and steady. Its glowing eyes remained open, watching, not her, but everything else. Like a soldier standing guard, Lyra whispered, "Who are you?" The beast lifted its head. She leaned closer, pressing her face between the bars. "Can you understand me?" It blinked once. Her heart skipped. Was that a yes? She reached her hand out again. Slowly, carefully, the beast moved closer. It lowered its massive head to meet her touch. This time, Lyra didn't pull back. Her fingers ran over the rough surface of its face-thick armor, plates and scars from old battles. But under her touch, the beast was calm. And then she noticed something strange. A small mark near its eye. A symbol, faint and almost lost under old wounds. It was human. Lyra froze. She leaned in. Her breath caught. It was a Terran Research Lab Logo 1 that hadn't existed for nearly 60 years. Her voice trembled. "You were made by us?" The beast didn't move, but something in its eyes shifted. Lyra felt it now, more than saw it. This creature wasn't just wild. It was intelligent. A piece of human history forgotten, abandoned, maybe even betrayed. Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed from the other side of the arena. Aliens. 3 guards entered, holding long staffs glowing with electricity. Behind them walked a tall alien in. Silver Armor Commander Dryak. His voice was cold. The beast disobeyed orders. It must be reprogrammed. The guards approached the cage. Lyra stood up quickly. "No, don't touch it." Dryak ignored her. "Step aside, human." The guards raised their staffs. One aimed at the beast's neck. But before they could strike, the beast jumped up. With a roar that shook the ground. It charged the guards like a storm. One was slammed into the wall. Another knocked unconscious. In a single swipe, the third tried to run, but the beast stood in front of him. Before he could take 2 steps. It didn't kill him, but it roared in his face. The guard dropped his weapon and ran back through the gate. Dryak watched in shock. His face twitched with anger. "You dare protect this creature, human?" He hissed. Lyra grabbed the bars. "I didn't do anything. You made it. You trained it. You just didn't understand it." Dryak stepped closer. It was built for one purpose, to obey. Now it disobeys. That makes it defective. Lyra shouted back. "Maybe it just found something worth protecting." Dryak narrowed his eyes. "Then you will die with it." He turned and stormed out. The arena lights shut off. The gates slammed closed. And now, Lyra was alone with the beast again. She dropped to the floor, heart racing. They'll come back with more weapons. The beast stepped close to her cage and lay down again. Its body blocked the opening, forming a wall between her and any danger. She reached out and placed a hand on its thick head. "I guess it's just you and me now," she whispered. The beast didn't growl, didn't move, but it blinked slowly. And in that quiet moment, a bond was formed between a girl and a monster, between a lost human and a creature who had once been a weapon. Asterisk. The night was too quiet. Lyra sat against the metal bars. The beast, whom she now silently called Ghost, still resting beside her cage. His body was still, but his ears twitched with every small sound in the jungle. The alien guards hadn't returned yet. No more shocks. No more commands. But something didn't feel right that far away. In the distance, the sky flashed red. Ghost raised his head. Lyra followed his gaze. Another flash. Then a deep, rumbling boom rolled over the treetops. Lyra stood. That's not thunder. Another. Explosion closer this time. The trees at the edge of the arena lit up with fire. Sirens blared across the compound. Red lights started spinning above the towers. Alien voices shouted across loudspeakers, and a panicked. Ghost stood up tall and alert. His armor plates shifted, ready for battle. Lyra grabbed the bars. What's happening? Outside the arena, Ships roared overhead. Shadows flew through the sky fast, black, and sharp edge. They weren't alien ships. These were human. Terran Strike Team was attacking the base. The ground shook. A blast hit the far wall of the arena, sending fire and debris across the field. Lyra ducked as sparks rained over her cage. Smoke filled the air. The force field around the arena flickered, then dropped. The power was failing. A large gate across. The field blew open. Alien soldiers ran in confusion. Some carried weapons. Others ran from burning towers. Then one of them saw Lyra. "There's the human." He shouted in their language. 5 aliens rushed toward her cage. Ghost moved first. With a thunderous roar, he leapt across the space between them. His claws tore into the dirt as he charged. 2 of the aliens fired, but their energy blasts bounced off his armor. He slammed into them like a tank. One was crushed under his weight. Another thrown into a wall. The rest tried to flee, but Ghost was faster. Lyra watched in stunned silence. Ghost didn't kill for pleasure. He attacked with purpose only when they threatened her. Once the last alien was gone, Ghost returned. To her cage, the lock was still active. Lyra looked around. The power system was exposed near the arena wall. She shouted, "Ghost there! The panel!" Ghost turned. He bounded over and slammed his massive claws into the control system. Sparks flew. The cage door clicked open. Lyra pushed it and stumbled out, coughing from smoke. Ghost lowered his head. She climbed onto his back. "Let's go," she whispered. He ran, through the fire, through collapsing walls, and past panicked aliens. They charged through the burning compound, dodging explosions and falling debris. The jungle gates were sealed shut, but Ghost didn't slow down. He slammed into them with full force. Metal bent, groaned, then gave way with a deafening crack. They burst into the jungle. Behind him, the alien base was in flames. Ships exploded. Towers fell. The Terran strike force was everywhere now, but Lyra didn't look back. She held tight. To Ghost as they raced through thick trees, jumping over rocks, ducking under vines. The wind stung her face. The trees blurred around them. Finally, after what felt like hours, they stopped near a waterfall deep in the jungle. Lyra slid off his back, gasping for breath. Her clothes were torn, her hands black with smoke. Ghost stood beside her, breathing heavy but unharmed. They were alive. She looked up at him. "You didn't just protect me. You saved me." Ghost didn't respond, but something passed between them, understanding not just a bond, a choice. He could have run on his own, but he didn't. She stepped forward, placing a hand on his side. His skin was warm beneath the armor. "Thank you." She whispered above them. Stars slowly reappeared in the sky, but Lyra knew the story wasn't over. The aliens would come looking. They would hunt them down. And now they knew what Ghost was capable of. But for now, they had each other, and the fire was only the beginning. The jungle was silent, too silent. Lyra sat by the waterfall, her back against a mossy rock. A soft mist hung in the air, cool and wet, but she barely noticed it. Her eyes stayed on Ghost, who stood at the edge of the water, unmoving, ears high, listening. He hadn't rested in hours. After escaping the burning base, they had run for what felt like forever. Now they were deep inside the alien jungle, surrounded by strange plants, glowing vines and animal calls that sounded both beautiful and terrifying. But Ghost was alert. Something was coming. Lyra whispered, "You hear them, don't you?" Ghost growled low in his throat, not angry, just warning. They weren't alone. Suddenly, a flash of light tore through the trees. A burning spear slammed into the ground just feet from where Lyra sat. She jumped back, heart pounding. Ghost roared and stepped in front of her. Figures appeared in the jungle, tall, armored, and fast. Not the usual guards. These were different. Hunters. Elite alien trackers. Their armor shimmered like shadows, and they carried weapons built for one thing: killing creatures like Ghost. They sent hunters after us, Lyra said, her voice shaking. Another spear flew. Ghost dodged it with impossible speed. He charged the first attacker, claws flashing. The hunter moved fast too, but not fast enough. Ghost slammed him into a tree so hard the armor cracked. But there were more. Two circled behind them, aiming long-range weapons at Lyra. She ducked. As Ghost spun back, placing himself between her and the hunters. He growled louder now, warning them. Lyra knew this wouldn't stop. They wouldn't stop. She looked around. The jungle offered no protection. They needed higher ground, somewhere defensible. Somewhere Ghost could move freely, and she wouldn't. Be a sitting target. There, she pointed. That cliff. Ghost didn't hesitate. He scooped her up gently with his armored claw, placed her on his back, and sprinted toward the cliffside. Vines snapped under his feet. The hunters chased, firing stun shots that lit up the jungle like lightning. Ghost leapt over fallen logs and twisted roots, moving like thunder through the trees. When they reached the cliff base, he climbed, digging claws into stone, carrying her up like she weighed nothing. At the top, they found a cave, dark, cold, but safe. Ghost let her down and turned to face the cliff edge. His chest rose and fell as he watched the jungle below. Lyra stood beside him. They won't stop, will they? He didn't move, because you chose me. Ghost blinked slowly. Lyra sat down against the cave wall. Her legs ached. Her hands were sore, but her mind was clear. The aliens hadn't just created Ghost as a weapon. They created something they couldn't control. And now they feared him. That's why they sent hunters. She whispered. What did they do to you before I came? Ghost turned his head slightly. Not far inside the cave, she noticed something. A carving on the wall. Old, scratched deep into the stone. She walked over and traced her fingers across it. It was a name. One word. Written in the Terran alphabet. Unit 07. Her voice caught. You were a unit. A number. Not a name. Ghost stepped beside her. For the first time, she saw something human in his expression. Sadness? Memory? She touched the name again. They gave you that, but they didn't see you. She looked up into his glowing eyes. You're not Unit 07 anymore. A pause. Then she said, You're Ghost now. He blinked. And then, in the silence, he lowered his head gently until it rested beside hers. Outside the cave, lightning flashed again. More. Hunters had arrived, but inside, there was peace. For now. Asterisk. The cave went deeper than it looked. Lyra followed Ghost through the narrow tunnel, guided only by the soft glow of strange moss along the stone walls. Behind them, the jungle echoed with the sound of hunters, still searching, still getting closer. Down here, in the quiet dark, something ancient waited. They reached a wide chamber, hidden far beneath the cliff. Ghost stopped at the edge of a metal door half buried in rock and vines. The door was rusted, but a familiar symbol caught Lyra's eye. It was the old Terran Research logo. Scratched, faded, but still there. Her heart raced. It's human. Ghost pushed the door open with one heavy shoulder. It creaked, then gave. Way. Inside was silence. Cold metal walls, broken lights, and machines that hadn't moved in decades. A forgotten lab. Lyra stepped in slowly. Dust danced in the air. Shelves were full of old datapads, cracked screens, and shattered samples. Ghost stayed near the door, watching. Guarding. She found a working terminal. Just one. Faint light blinked. Lyra sat down and tapped the screen. It flickered, then loaded. A file. Old video logs. Research data. She clicked the first recording. A man's voice spoke. Human. Tired. Log 92. Subject 07 remains highly reactive. We spliced Terran loyalty markers into its cognitive core. Results are unstable. It obeys only when it chooses to. Shows signs of emotional bonding. This wasn't the plan. Lyra's mouth went dry. Log 104. Alien Command says to terminate the project. They fear it's becoming more human than beast. Subject 07 refused orders in the last trial. Protected the child instead. We've failed. They're sealing the lab. The video ended. She turned to Ghost. You were never just a weapon. Ghost lowered his head. You remembered, she whispered. You were built to kill. But they gave you a piece of what makes us human. And now you're free. Ghost stepped closer. Lyra stood up. They didn't just fear your strength. They feared your heart. Suddenly, a loud boom echoed above. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alien voices shouted from above. They were here. The hunters had found the cave entrance. Lyra moved fast. She grabbed the last working datapad from the desk and stuffed it into her jacket. We need to go, she said, but Ghost didn't move. He walked deeper into the room to a locked case at the back. With one slam of his claws, the case shattered. Inside was a collar, black, marked Control Unit 07. He looked at it, then crushed it under his foot. Then he turned to her, glowing eyes full of focus. He was done being a tool. He was choosing who he was now. The ground above shook again. Lyra ran to the door. They're right above us. Ghost walked ahead, faster this time. He knew the way. They climbed back through the tunnel, but the light was flickering now. The hunters had reached the top of the cliff. One shouted a command. Another dropped. A scanner droned down into the tunnel. Lyra grabbed a rock and threw it. The drone shattered. That's when the floor exploded. Alien hunters dropped in through the broken ceiling, weapons glowing bright. One aimed at Lyra, but Ghost moved faster. He leapt, slamming into the hunter and throwing the others off balance. Lyra ducked and rolled behind a wall fragment. The fight was brutal. Ghost tore through the hunters, like wind through trees, fast, precise, unstoppable. But he wasn't just wild now. He was thinking, predicting, protecting. One hunter tried to grab Lyra. She pulled the old datapad from her jacket and swung it at his face. He staggered back, and she grabbed his weapon. It was heavy. Alien tech. But she aimed and fired. A blue beam knocked the hunter back across the chamber. Ghost looked, back just for a second. Proud. But more were coming. The cave shook again. The whole cliffside was unstable now. Lyra shouted, We need to get out before this place falls. Ghost picked her up and charged through the narrow tunnel again. Behind them, rock and fire collapsed into the lab, burying its secrets forever. They burst from the cliff just as the sun rose. Smoke drifted through the jungle. But they had survived. And now, with the truth in their hands and the past buried only, one thing was clear. They would no longer run. They would fight back. The sun rose over the burning jungle, casting golden light across black smoke and shattered trees. Lyra and Ghost stood at the cliff's edge. Below them, alien ships circled the wreckage of the old base. Dropships landed. New hunter squads spread through the jungle like a virus. The enemy wasn't giving up. Not after what they'd seen. Not after Ghost had turned against them. Lyra looked at him, this creature who was supposed to be a monster, who had been created for death, but chose to protect. And now, she saw something else in his eyes. He wasn't running anymore. He was ready to end it. Are you sure? she whispered. Ghost lowered his head. She climbed onto his back without hesitation. They charged down the cliff. The jungle opened before them, animals fleeing in every direction. Smoke curled through the trees. As they neared the base, alarms screamed. Drones flew overhead. Alien soldiers pointed and shouted, "There! The human and the beast!" Ghost didn't slow. Blaster fire rained around them. Ghost weaved through. It like lightning, armor deflecting most of the shots. Lyra ducked low and held tight. They burst into the center of the broken base. Alien commanders stood outside their command tower, eyes wide. "It's him. It's Subject 07. Ghost stopped. Lyra slid off his back, and then she did something they never expected. She raised the alien weapon. She had stolen in the lab and aimed it directly at their command relay. "You created him to obey," she said, loudly, her voice shaking but clear. "But you gave him something stronger than your orders. You gave him a soul." She fired. The blast hit the relay. The command network died. All the hunter controls, all the override signals, gone in seconds. The aliens panicked. Ghost roared. And then he charged. They tried to run, not too late. Ghost moved like a storm. One by one, the alien guards fell. Not all were killed, some were simply thrown aside, too stunned to fight back. Lyra joined the attack. She moved fast, dodging blasts, setting off explosions using tech she didn't fully understand, but it worked. They were a team now. Girl and beast, the same ones the galaxy thought couldn't win. And yet, here they were. When it was over, the base was silent. Smoke rose from the broken buildings. The alien commander Dryak crawled from the wreckage, bleeding and furious. "You don't understand what you've done," he growled. "He's not a hero. He's a mistake." Lyra walked up slowly. "No," she said. "You were the mistake?" She nodded once. Ghost stepped forward. Dryak tried to stand. Ghost growled. Just one sound. A commander froze. Then Ghost turned and walked away. No death. No revenge. Just choice. That was power. Lyra followed. They moved through the jungle one last time. Not as prey, not as fugitives, but as something new. News of what happened spread fast. The galaxy began to whisper. The weapon they built to kill had become something greater, and the human girl had awakened it. They weren't just survivors now. They were symbols. Symbols of what happens when you try to control what you don't understand. Asterisk.